Hello, everybody. This is DB Podcast. DB Podcast started since 2020, and we usually do podcasts on Zoom. And I say, let us do it on Facebook Live as well so that we can match DB Podcast with DB Talk Show. But today is DB Podcast. And then, welcome. We have special guest tonight. And DB Podcast is to motivate, to inspire, to motivate people to obey God's word and serve others to the God's given gift. This is the purpose of the podcast. We have a guest for tonight, Professor Warsaw. Professor Warsaw, I've been working with many parents, with children that have the ability to read and write well. And then he's here with us that's going to talk to us about himself. And after that, I have more questions to ask him. I'm going to tell us what we do so far. Welcome to the Big Talk Show tonight, Professor Warsaw. How are you doing?
I'm doing great. Thanks for having me.
Thank you so much for being part of DB Podcast tonight. I have a few questions for you. Talk a little bit about yourself, who you are so far. I said that you're a professor. You can explain to the audience what type of professor that you are.
Well, I work with the main thing is taking dyslexia research and making it accessible for parents and teachers so they can use things far more efficiently and actually solve the problems of dyslexia.
Wonderful. That's very important what you just said. Basically, what we think about that's happened to many kids. Sometimes the parent didn't aware of that. They just keep talking about the kids. Study, learn. You dumb. And it's a bad thing to do. I have a few questions that I'm going to ask you that can help our listeners understand the power that can help your children to learn better. The first question is: many parents are of dyslexic kids feel exhausted and have tried everything with little success. Why do you believe there's still people, there's still a hope for these children? And what makes your approach different from the usual methods?
Okay. Well, what I think I should do is just first of all go over what dyslexia really is by actually looking at the science, and then just tell you how to just solve the biggest problem that parents come to me with. Takes about 10 minutes, and that's it. That's the parents are coming to me with their elementary and middle school kids who are essentially writing a bunch of randomly placed misspelled words. Nobody knows what to do. They tell the kid a million times, literally, and nothing gets better. So here's what's going on. This is the top book in the field of dyslexia. It's called Overcoming Dyslexia. This is the second edition by Professor Sally Shaywitz from Yale.
Wow,
That's
that's nice.
dyslexia. This is it. It's
Nice.
this simple. Do you see how the back part of your brain has this massive neural
Hmm.
activity, but the
Hmm.
back part of mine has next to nothing?
Okay.
Now, do you see how the front part of my brain's about 2.5 times overactive?
Yes.
Okay. So what's going on is in traditional school, it's being taught for the back part of the brain. The dyslexic has nothing going on.
Hmm.
All right. We literally can't do it. So what the secret is we
Hmm.
have to take things that are processed in the back part of the brain
Hmm.
and move them to the front part,
Hmm.
which is about 2.5 times overactive.
Hmm.
And here's how you do it. Not some theory, not some discussion. This is how you just solve it. So, do you know any dyslexic elementary school kids at any point in your life who are essentially writing a bunch of randomly placed misspelled words?
Hmm.
Okay. What's the name of that? What's the name of that? Make up a name for that student. What's their made up name?
Sometimes they tell the student you're lazy, you cannot
Oh,
learn
no.
sometimes.
I'm asking, do you know a specific student like this?
No,
You personally?
I know sometimes specifically what I will use to teach languages at school. They
Okay.
cannot learn. That's happened to me when I used to teach languages at school.
Okay. So I want you to think of a specific student like this.
I think the idea is a slow learner. He cannot learn pretty well. There's something different from him from the other
Right. But
kids.
yes, but that specific student, make up a name for him to protect his identity. What is this kid's name? Fake name.
So sometimes they call that kids, special.
No, no, I'm talking about, do you know a specific student?
No, I don't remember the name specifically because I've been a long time.
No, no, I'm not saying their name. Do you remember a specific kid who went through this? The details of that kid, what they liked, what they disliked.
No, I don't remember because when I was teaching, I just teaching languages for
Hmm.
such hour, like 1 hour and after I go, and after they get like specific teacher, elementary teacher that stayed there teaching them.
Oh,
I
okay.
was a language teacher.
Okay, so I'm just going to use the student I use in these situations. Her name is
Hmm.
Sarah. At the time, she was, I'm going to show you how to fix this in the next 10 minutes. It's not
Hmm.
that hard. Sarah was 10 years old in fifth grade, writing a bunch of randomly placed misspelled words. Teachers
Hmm.
had no idea, special ed teachers, zero idea. Nobody could fix this.
Hmm.
Key thing about Sarah is her speciality, her area of extreme interest and ability was swimming.
Hmm.
She was on the swim team. She jumped in the pool every chance she could get.
Hmm.
So, how we fix this, how you would fix this, is you would pull out a laptop computer with a real keyboard, not an iPad,
Hmm.
not an iPhone, and certainly not handwriting.
Hmm.
Then, what you do is you're going to type out hero, plus sign. What are we talking about?
Hmm.
Then Sarah's going to copy that.
Hmm.
Then, until she gets it correct.
Hmm.
There's a lot of repetition here. Then we're going to swap out hero for Sarah's name. Now
Hmm.
we got Sarah plus sign. What are we talking about?
Hmm.
Then we're going to go to a list of 10 things that Sarah really, really likes,
Hmm.
and then 10 things she really, really dislikes. The first thing that she really, really likes is swimming. So now we got Sarah plus
Hmm.
sign. What are we talking about? We're going to
Swimming.
swap out what are we talking about for swimming.
Hmm.
So we got Sarah plus sign swimming. See how we
Swimming.
got there? Okay.
That's
Now
great.
I'm going to try to fool you with two of the simplest questions ever, and
Hmm.
I give these questions to 6-year olds.
Hmm.
Okay. If you answer the questions exactly, this will work.
Hmm.
If you don't, you're going to get really confused,
Hmm.
and then you're going to have an epiphany on what dyslexia really is.
Hmm.
All right. Do you think I can fool you with two of the simplest questions ever?
Hmm. Yes, you
Do you
may.
think
You may. Yes, you may.
Okay. Well,
Yes,
let's
go
try
ahead.
it. So the key to make this work is to answer what I'm asking exactly.
Yes,
So
go
we
ahead.
got Sarah plus sign swimming. We need to
Hmm.
swap out the plus sign for a word.
Hmm.
Here's my question. Does Sarah like or dislike swimming?
So I like swimming
But that's
because
not what I asked.
what do you ask?
I asked this. We got Sarah plus sign swimming. We got to swap out the plus sign for a word. Here's my question. Does Sarah like or dislike swimming?
Sarah likes swimming.
Yes, but that's not what I asked.
What do you ask?
Do I have you nice and confused now?
Yes.
Are you ready for your epiphany?
Yes.
Okay, let's go back to the science. All right, you're a highly educated man. Okay,
Yes.
so what's going on is you were processing this in this part of the brain where it's supposed to be. Okay,
Hmm.
Sarah has nothing going on back here. So when
Hmm.
I asked, does Sarah like or dislike swimming? You did what almost every educated person does. You
Yes.
automatically added the S to make it a proper sentence.
Hmm.
Sarah doesn't know how to add the S.
He doesn't know.
She would have put Sarah like swimming.
I
Okay.
see. I see. That's cool. That's
So,
cool.
so the big issue is how do
Hmm.
we get Sarah to add the S? So if you happen to have an extra
Hmm.
$500,000 sitting around,
Hmm.
you could send Sarah to the Windward School in the Upper East Side of Manhattan in New
Hmm.
York City.
Hmm.
They are documented over decades to have a 98% success
Hmm.
rate.
Hmm.
They would take Sarah in, and 4 to 5 years later, send her back to her current school as one of the most educated kids on the planet.
That's
Okay,
cool. That's cool.
for 75,000 a year for 4 to 5 years.
Wow.
If you don't have that, here's how we would do it, because we're going to
Hmm.
use modern science. The
Okay.
first thing that we have to do is to understand is we have to take things to the front part of the brain where
Hmm.
Sarah has 2.5 times the neural activity.
Hmm.
So the front part of the brain deals with two things according to Yale:
Hmm.
word analysis and followed by articulation. So what we do is we have to use word analysis.
Hmm.
So we ask Sarah, Sarah, go. I'd ask her, do you like or dislike swimming? She would say like.
Hmm.
Sarah, then I would say, Sarah, replace the plus sign, read it out loud.
Hmm.
Sarah, like swimming. Then I
Swimming.
would say, Sarah, read it out loud again and answer this question. Does that
Hmm.
sound generally correct? She
Hmm.
would say no. And I would say, Sarah, fix it. Sarah likes swimming.
Hmm.
And we would practice that for the other 9 likes
Hmm.
and 10 dislikes. And yes, it's repetitive as all heck. And
Yeah.
you're typing. Okay. So do you see how that is a simple form of word analysis?
Yes.
Now we're going to go, we're going to then move on to because and then reason one. Can you
Hmm.
see how the reasons are a simple form of articulation?
Sure.
Okay. So then what we would do is give me a simple reason why a 10-year-old girl would like swimming.
The reason they could like swimming because it's fun for them.
Everybody says it's fun. So we got Sarah likes swimming because it's fun.
It's
All right.
fun.
Now, as a teacher, teachers have problems with massively horrible grammar. So we would ask Sarah to forget about spelling now, read what she wrote out loud, and does it sound generally correct?
Hmm.
And we'd tell her to keep doing that until it does.
Hmm.
So now you got rid of those horrific grammar mistakes. You're left with a lot of little ones and some medium ones,
Hmm.
possibly, which teachers know how to fix.
Hmm.
Okay. But we still have a spelling problem.
Hmm.
So here's how we fix that. We tell Sarah to put the period down.
Hmm.
And every time she misspells a word, she
Hmm.
has to retype the entire sentence, which she will do about 3 to 13 times.
Hmm.
Each time she'll say, I'm not going to make that mistake. And she keeps making it until
Wow.
she eventually gets it correct. Then
Correct.
we have her practice that for the next 9 likes and 10
Hmm.
dislikes. Then we repeat that with the same reasons, but we add reason one and reason two. We
Hmm.
run it through the 20 sentences. Then reason one, reason two, and reason three, we run through the 20 sentences, each one until it's spelled correctly. When you're done,
Hmm.
Sarah can now write correct spelling sentences with decent grammar, and she can also improve her reading.
That's good.
Because if you can write it, you can
Hmm.
read it. If you
Yes.
can write it, you can read it.
Hmm.
But here's the problem: that is only step three of the model.
The
The
model.
first thing that you have to do is when you're dealing with ADD,
Hmm.
ADHD, or dyslexia, that's attention deficit disorder, attention deficit hyperactivity disorder, or dyslexia, is you have during the intervention period,
Hmm.
you have to work with the dyslexic student speciality, their area of extreme interest and ability. Let me
Hmm.
give you an example. One of my most successful student ever for younger kids, her name is Casey. I never saw this before, Casey. I will never see this again. This was a one-off edge case. I met Casey when she was 10 years old at the end of fifth grade.
Hmm.
She turned 11 over the summertime.
Hmm.
She was reading at the second grade level and she
Hmm.
demanded to do reading first. So I said, okay, here's a simple process.
Hmm.
She was interested in Theodore Roosevelt. So I assigned
Hmm.
her this little book,
That's
The
nice.
Rise of Theodore Roosevelt.
That's nice.
All 900 pages. This is for 10th grade to first year college level, depending who you ask. This
That's
book won
great.
the Pulitzer.
Theodore Roosevelt.
So
That's nice.
yes, so I gave her the simple process. Her idea, nobody ever told her to do this.
Hmm.
She went to her room, shut the door for 3 hours a night for the next 6 months,
Wow.
most of the days during the summer. At the end of that, you could flip to this random page,
Hmm.
point to this random word, and she would tell you the dictionary definition. She
That's great.
jumped 8 grade levels in 6 months, and I worked with her for 15 minutes a week.
Awesome.
But that's not the key point. The
Hmm.
key point is when I took her to a book that she loved to one she hated on her
Hmm.
mom's assistance, I asked her how much did her reading, did her motivation drop, and she said
Hmm.
about 50%.
Wow.
Most kids who are ADD, ADHD, or dyslexic, their motivation when you get outside their speciality drops 75 to 90%.
Okay.
So your intervention will not work unless you stay in that speciality during the intervention period until you get them to grade level.
Hmm.
Secondly, if you're dealing with dyslexics, if you ask them, in your speciality, do you have ideas flying around your head at light speed? But key question, little to no organization, they're going to say yes.
Hmm.
So what we need to do is to force the dyslexic brain to organize itself by using writing as a measurable output.
That's
So let
good.
me give you an example of that. Uh, I'm sure you're familiar with Martin Luther King's famous "I Have a Dream" speech.
Yes, I listened to it. I was not there at that
Yes.
time, but I listened to
Yes.
it.
So I want you to think this was huge in America. So if I were to give you this assignment,
Hmm.
let me know, would you just know what to do to get started? What effect did Martin Luther King's famous "I Have a Dream" speech have on the American civil rights movement of the 1960s?
Hmm.
Do you know how to just go to the library and start the process of writing that paper?
Hmm.
Would you, based on
No,
those instructions?
no.
Well, you just go to you want to go to the library and you want to know what effect did this speech have on the American civil rights movement of the 1960s?
Yes, I have to understand the meaning, specifically what the result that speech done on those situations, especially in that time.
Right. So you would go to the card catalog, look up some books, read the books, and start to figure it out, right?
Exactly.
Okay. So you pretty much know you go to the card catalog, find the books, and read them, and then go from there.
Exactly.
Okay. Okay. If you were dyslexic, you'd be standing there going, "Huh?" It's like grabbing fog. We
Exactly.
have nothing to launch onto because if you ask a dyslexic or ADD or ADHD kid in your speciality, do you have ideas flying around your head, but key question, but with little to no organization? We're going to say yes. So, what we have to do is to force the dyslexic brain to organize itself by
Hmm.
using writing as a measurable output.
Hmm.
So let me give you an example on that. For Martin Luther King, we would start off with something very specific.
Hmm.
What personally compelled Martin Luther King to want to give his famous speech? We can just go to his biography and just find out. We know what
Hmm.
to do with that.
Hmm.
That answer will give us a question, which will give us an answer, which will give us a question, which will give us an answer. That'll force the dyslexic brain to organize itself by using writing as a measurable output. So we start at a very specific question and slowly go out from there.
Hmm.
And then we teach word analysis followed by articulation, which I showed you.
Hmm.
And parents ask, well, how successful is this? I'm just coming out with a book called "If You Write, You Can Read." It'll come out in the
Hmm.
next few months, and my part is based with on Kimberly.
That's
Kimberly is a
right.
homeschooling mom.
Hmm.
She has some college, very religious. The Bible is very important to her family. I met her on December 27th of 2024, and she
Hmm.
just had spent $700 to have the state of Ohio test her kids.
Hmm.
Her four general education kids were reading brilliantly using traditional methods. But her dyslexic son, Reed, who was 10 years old in fifth grade, was doing horribly. He was reading at the 11th percentile, writing at the fourth percentile, and she
Hmm.
was distraught, didn't know what to do. So
Hmm.
I worked with her for half an hour a week for the next 8.5 months. She worked with Reed for an hour and a half a week for the next 8.5 months. That summer, Reed's friends wanted him in public school to be with them socially. So in beginning of August, 8.5 months later, he was tested in a public school, much better data.
Hmm.
And if he scored, even if he doubled what he was in December, he would have been placed in special ed, away from his friends, unhappy kid. He had a bit more of an increase. His reading went from the 11th percentile to the 64th.
Hmm.
His writing went from the fourth percentile to the 65th. His grammar jumped to the 97th percentile.
So that's awesome.
Notice this is done in less than 9 months. What's
Wow.
happened? Last week, I asked Kimberly how Reed is doing. He's in normal classes, getting mainly A's and B's.
Hmm.
Kimberly solved what every parent's dream of on
Wow.
her own in under 9 months. That's how powerful this is.
Amazing. Amazing. I like that. And then there's another perspective. You see, some kids learn differently. Some of them
Hmm.
enjoy watching and listening
Hmm.
to learn. Some like to read. And for the time being, we have what I call that audiobook, and also we have history the kids can watch on television, on social media. Most of the kids like to go on social media. And then, do you think that social media, some kids love to play games as well? This kind of thing can help the
Oh, you
kids.
got it. Yeah, you put to stop the video games right away. It rots the brain. And as
Okay,
far as social media, I would get it away. I would get it away from the kids as much as possible.
okay,
Notice what I was doing. I gave Casey this book
okay,
with an audio book, with an audio edition. This is by far my most popular book.
okay.
Walt Disney, The Triumph of the American Imagination. That's
That's good.
1,000 pages. This will take a lot of my kids 1 to 3 years to go through.
Wow.
Okay. I get them the book and the audio book. The stuff you get on the internet, on social media, it's a lot of it is junk. I
Okay.
want my kids to get the best possible information,
Hmm.
and that comes from books from vetted authors.
Okay.
And then I also try to get them with a really good. The most important thing for these kids, believe it or not, is the narrator. If the
Okay.
kid doesn't like the narrator, get another book.
Hmm.
Okay. And I focus on them. If you look at any of the books I typically use,
Hmm.
once the kid can read that, they can read.
Yeah.
I don't care if you think this is just the 10th grade level. If Casey can do this,
Hmm.
she can do fine in college. The college professor says, hey, I use that all the time for my college students. That's first year college level. High school teachers thinks it's 10th grade level.
Hmm.
Doesn't matter if the kid can read.
You can read.
That's that's what the focus is. Give
Yes.
them. The other issue is with these kids is with social media. And I can tell you there's a lot of tech guys. I this is my 241st podcast since
Hmm.
May. I've been on a lot with a lot of tech guys.
Hmm.
And what they told me is they failed as parents, and they think the first time you should give your kid an iPhone is at least 16, preferably 18,
Wow.
because they're just on it all the time. The biggest complaint that employers tell me with these Gen Z Zoomers coming out
Hmm.
is they're always on the darn phone.
Yep.
I'll tell you a nightmare story about this.
Hmm.
The highest paid job you're going to get out of college, possibly with a 4 year degree, is Goldman Sachs.
Hmm.
This happened a little while ago, but this happened. A kid was looking to get a job at Goldman Sachs out of college,
Hmm.
and these jobs start paying 140 grand a year with bonus. First year, right out of school.
Hmm.
And the kid pulled out his iPhone to do something on social media, and the guy interviewing him said, well, what's going on? I mean, is there somebody
Hmm.
dying in your family? It's like, no, it's just updating my social media.
Hmm.
The guy took the phone, dumped it into a glass of some liquid,
Wow.
peeled out $1,000, and said, you'll never work in this industry again,
Wow.
because they serve billionaires, they serve CEOs. They are trained that if you have an 8 a.m. appointment, you sit there, hands folded, waiting. And if that means you wait until 9 or 10 o'clock at night
Wow.
and your hour appointment drops to 4 minutes,
Mhm.
that's what you do. The social media is killing these kids.
Mhm. This is not common for this new generation. How we have games for the time being, you can say, kids, what is the new game names? They say, oh, is there's a game people says PlayStation 5, and the kids love that.
Oh, yeah. And I
The
will
kids
tell
for
parents,
the time
especially
being.
with boys, get them away from the darn games.
Okay.
You want to get the what I what parents need to understand
Mm-hmm.
very sincerely is that with this artificial intelligence coming out,
Mm-hmm.
I am one of those people who actually does 10x the work that I
Mm-hmm.
would do if I weren't dyslexic each day
Mm-hmm.
with artificial intelligence. When ChatGPT came out with its $200 pro plan in
Mm-hmm.
December of 24, I
Mm-hmm.
bought it that day.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. So a lot of my work, the research and everything else that I have to do, because I produce a lot of documentation and I'm
Mm-hmm.
severely dyslexic. You people can't believe the amount of editing that I go
Mm-hmm.
through with AI
Mm-hmm.
to make it just right.
Mm-hmm.
All right. Literally, I over 10x my workflow. If
Mm-hmm.
you don't know how to use this, you are going to have a very bad economic future if you're going into knowledge work.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. And if these kids want to be successful, there's a book called The Craft of Research. So let me just everybody understand where I started.
Mm-hmm.
I went to do the New York State internship in 1997. I had a first grade reading and writing level, so I couldn't do the internship the way it was designed. They accommodated the living daylights out of me. They recommended 15 credits of A minus. It goes to the political science department of the State University of New York Center at Buffalo.
Mm-hmm.
They hated the accommodations the state government itself came up with, so they flunked me.
Wow.
So then I went to law school to learn to read and write. My first class in law school, the professor called on me. I didn't respond as a student. I responded as his equal for 15 minutes. Okay. Nobody ever seen anything like that and they never heard of anything like that.
Mm-hmm.
I learned to read within a month. I learned to write within a couple of years. Then I went back to get funding from the New York State Senate, which they don't do. They sent me through hell to get this approved.
Mm-hmm.
I had to connect my research to the top professor in Western New York in this area. It's supposed
Mm-hmm.
to take years. I did it under 2 weeks. Are you seeing how I do really well in grad school?
Mm-hmm.
That's the front part of the brain.
Mm-hmm.
The research that we did is we took a bunch of highly motivated dyslexic high school juniors and seniors
Mm-hmm.
with middle school writing skills, one class period a day for the school year. And this was taught by a public school teacher. They increased to the average range of entering graduate students.
Mm-hmm.
They all went on to college. They all graduated GPAs of 2.5 to 3.6. My cost to New York State was under $900. The best private school, private college, we were 3x as successful for less than 1% of the cost. They were over 100K
Mm-hmm.
with a 25% success rate. So when I presented this in New York City in '06, all right, what happened is the professors came to me and said, does this work? Oh, we don't care about your kids hitting the 70th percentile of entering grad students when they were writing middle school last year. They wanted a book called The Craft of Research.
Mm-hmm.
It's a book that sold over 1 million copies from the University of Chicago. It's context, get everybody on the same page,
Mm-hmm.
unique problem statement, unique solution.
Mm-hmm.
It's how to do your doctoral dissertation. And they want me to teach this to dyslexic high school kids,
Wow.
which I developed. I just showed you a simpler version of that.
Mm-hmm.
But I want you to imagine, as a teacher, you ended up working with a lot of kids in middle and high school.
I used to do it since 2022 and
Mhm.
23. And I was working on drop it. I gave it to another person to take over because I dedicate more
Okay.
another area that profit me better.
Okay. Well, I want you to imagine what I told you. Because remember, I'm here about to solve the problem. I told you how to solve the kids who are having trouble writing basic sentences.
Mm-hmm.
But what about the older kid? Okay. Here's a more advanced version of word analysis followed by articulation. This is remember when I told you context, problem statement, solution? This is the part of the context part of it.
Mm-hmm.
So I want you to imagine you're dealing with middle school kids, high school kids, or college students. All right. And they're having issues. They can't even write a basic advanced paragraph.
Mm-hmm.
Here's how you do that. Here's a more advanced version of articulation followed by word analysis. This will help the rest of your parents with older kids. I want you to, the best way I like to describe this is to start with a movie review, show you Shakespeare, and then show you how to solve this.
Mm-hmm.
It looks like it's coming out of left field. That's a baseball term, which means it's coming out of nowhere. That's typically how dyslexic associate solutions work. So I want you to think about a movie
Mm-hmm.
that you think is one of the best of all time,
Mm-hmm.
that you know intimately, that everybody has seen. What's the name of that movie?
Okay, for me, the name of the movie people, most of them over the world watch is The Passion of the Christ.
The Passion of the Christ.
Yes,
Okay.
if even if people can be on them in the countryside, they'll watch it different ways. Is it one of the national movies?
Yes. Okay. So now, and just so the audience knows, how far did you go in your education?
What me?
Yes.
Yes, it basically I was a graduated as a language art teacher and also fine art teacher, and
Okay.
I'm an artist, and also graduated on modern language school, like
Okay.
as
So is
a
that is that a
language.
4 year degree, a master's degree?
No, I don't do master degree. I say 4 year degree. I was
Okay,
graduated
4 year. Okay.
university. Yeah.
Okay. So you've been through university. You've done a lot.
Yes.
You're educated. Okay. So
Yes.
now what I'm about to ask you is we're using the front part of the brain. You're now playing in my sandbox where I have
Yes.
2.5 times the neural activity.
Yes.
Okay. So this is where dyslexic students tend to excel. So
Hmm.
Passion of the Christ. I want you to reduce the Passion of the Christ to a one-word universal theme that best represents that movie in your opinion. What's that one word?
Jesus Christ died for the world.
No, no, no. One word.
Jesus Christ.
Nope, that's in the title. I want something that is unique to your viewpoint.
Let me think about
One
that.
word.
One word.
Yes.
Okay, one word that unique to me is passion.
Passion. Okay. Now, what I just want everybody to understand so you can understand how dyslexia works in the real world.
Hmm.
You're highly educated.
Hmm.
Do you see how long that took you?
Hmm.
Now, a dyslexic with far less education, but the same interest that you have in the Passion of the Christ,
Hmm.
would have come up with that answer in a fraction of a second, much less time.
Hmm.
There are areas where we have a huge advantage.
Hmm.
Okay. Just so everybody, I'm not saying good, bad. I'm just saying this is where the dyslexic has the advantage. So,
Hmm.
again, what was your universal thing?
My universal thing. For example,
No, the word you gave me, what was it again?
oh, the passion.
Passion. Okay. Now, let's say you wanted to write a proper movie review. For the people who haven't seen it, what you would do is you would take all the main actors that you're interested in,
Hmm.
and you would ask, how did they do with the universal theme of passion? How did the director do? How
Hmm.
did the screenwriter do? Then you'd write up the movie review.
Hmm.
Then people could say, do I want to see this or not see this? If they do want to see it, you would be enhancing their experience because now they know what to look for from who. But you're not ruining it by telling them this happened, this happened, and this happened. Does that make sense?
Exactly, and this is the same way that Gibson did, because
Mm-hmm.
that movie is before the first movie about the Passion of Christ was in 1986. No,
Mm-hmm.
1976. I remember, and then 1976, and then Neil Gibson just watched all the scenes and say, "I'm going to cast my own Passion of the Christ," and it's
Okay.
different than the first one.
Yes. So, but here's what I'm trying now when we're trying to do advanced writing.
Hmm.
Here's the problem where we are right now.
Hmm.
You said passion.
Hmm.
Passion is a broad universal thing.
Hmm.
So we have to paint this with a broad brush.
Hmm.
We can't laser focus. That's the problem.
Hmm.
So how do we do that? So now I'm going to traumatize some of your audience. I'm
Hmm.
apologizing ahead
Hmm.
of time. It's
Hmm.
brief. We're going to go back to high school English and Shakespeare.
Hmm.
Okay. So I want you to think back to high school, any Shakespeare play. Do you remember how you'd have a hero? The hero would want to do something based on one or more universal themes.
Hmm.
Then there'd be an antagonist or an ultimate villain who was a person or concept or some combination there too, who
Hmm.
would try to prevent the hero from accomplishing their goal. They
Hmm.
would start to have a conflict in Act One, really accelerate it into Act Two, and resolve in Act Three. Sound familiar?
Yes.
Okay. Now, why am I mentioning Shakespeare? Because
Hmm.
when it comes to communicating in English,
Hmm.
he was the top of all time. So, how do
Yes, it
we
is.
simplify this and incorporate what we know about dyslexia in the front part of the brain so
Hmm.
we can actually teach these dyslexic kids to write advanced
Hmm.
paragraphs? So, what we do is let's just say we're doing a high school or a college or graduate level. uh, paper or discussion on Passion of the Christ, and we're going to
Mhm.
use the script.
Mhm.
So what we would do is we would find out who the hero was in our
Mhm.
view. The
Mhm.
hero would want to do something,
Mhm.
and then I would tell the dyslexic student to type out everything that they of what the hero wants to do.
Mhm.
Okay, and explain it to me in as many paragraphs as possible.
Mhm.
Then for each sentence, we're going to pick out the most important word.
Mhm.
Then we're going to have the kid type out the most important word on their laptop with a
Mhm.
real keyboard, then look up Merriam Webster's online dictionary, and they're going to pick their definition and then type out the definition. Now, this is where I tell these kids this is go, no go. I said, if
Mhm.
you want to work with me, you have to do this, or you can go to those private schools that are $500,000 for 4 to 5 years. They can fix it, or
Mhm.
you can stay where you are.
Mhm.
Okay. What I tell them is that we're in their speciality. Let's say the kid is really passionate about the passion of the Christ. We're
Mhm.
in what you care about, but you have to do this because let's look at the science again. The front part of the brain that's 2.5 times overactive.
Mhm.
This is absolutely critical if you want any solution to dyslexia.
Mhm.
Yale said the front part of the brain starts off with word analysis. Here's my question that nobody has ever asked.
Mhm.
How can you do word analysis if you don't know exactly what that word means?
Mhm.
You cannot.
Mhm.
So if you're going to work with me, you're going to do this. You're going to type out the word, you're going to type out the definition.
Mhm.
Okay. And you're going to repeat the living heck out of that. And if you're not up to doing that, I can't help you. But when I
Mhm.
tell the kids we're in their speciality, that they're like, okay, I get it, I'll do it. That's typically what happens.
Mhm.
So we type out the word and the definition for each of the most important word.
Mhm.
Eventually, the kid is going to type out that word and that definition so many times they're going to remember it permanently. All right. And with Casey, she did this at 10 and 11. When she was 16 or 17, had to take the SATs, she remembered 70 to 80% of what those definitions were.
That's
She didn't
great.
have to remember all those words. She already did it.
That's
So
great.
when I asked her to thesaurus a word, what's the best one? She'd go down multiple levels. She'd come back in under 10 minutes. She said, I looked up 214 words. I knew what every definition was in under 10 minutes. Here's what the best one is and why.
Mhm.
Okay. And she could debate a professor on that when she was 11. Okay. This is how the bedrock where you develop over months
Mhm.
a vocabulary of hundreds of evolved words. Okay. So we do that for the most important words for all of them. Then we pick out what the best, most important word is in the
Mhm.
student's opinion. Now we got the same problem that you had with passion when we were doing the movie review of the
Mhm.
Passion of the Christ. It's
Mhm.
too broad. How do we fix that?
Mhm.
Well, we go to the thesaurus and we put in passion. I'm sorry, we put in the best, most important word. That's
Mhm.
our base universal theme. Then
Mhm.
you pick 5 words, 10 words, the entire level, multiple
Mhm.
levels, whatever the student and the teacher agree to.
Mhm.
Then we do the same thing. We type out the word, we type out the definition until after they start doing this, they'll just know what some words are.
Mhm.
Okay. So then we pick out the word that best matches what's in the student's head.
Mhm.
Now we can laser focus and now pick out the ultimate villain.
Mhm.
I start off with a person and then I eventually move on to concepts. So now we have the hero, the universal theme, and the
Mhm.
villain. We say, give me that. We separate those words by plus signs. And
Mhm.
then we ask the kid to read it out loud without the plus signs. Does it
Mhm.
sound generally correct? No, fix it. Do
Mhm.
you see how that's an advanced version of word analysis?
Mhm.
Now we're going to move on to articulation and the body paragraph. We're almost done. Then I
Mhm.
ask you to come up with your two really good reasons. I'm sorry, three really good reasons, the best ones you can come up with. For each reason, we turn that into a simple universal theme, and that allows us to go to the transcript of the Passion of the Christ.
Mhm.
I'm looking for a quote from at the beginning of the movie a one sentence quote that deals exactly with that universal theme, and one at
Mhm.
the end. Then we take those two quotes together, and that's our data.
Mhm. Mhm.
And from that, we create our topic sentence.
Mhm.
Now, Have you noticed when you're going through college, you're doing term paper after term paper,
Mhm.
your
Mhm.
topic sentence and the data, it never flowed really well. Do you remember that problem?
Mhm.
So this is from the craft of research. Have you ever thought of applying a warrant to solve that problem?
No.
Okay. A warrant, and if you don't use it, then you do get arrested. That's just a joke. A
Mhm.
warrant is how you connect your topic sentence and your data by answering a how and why question.
Mhm.
And because both are based on the same universal theme, we can just do one warrant. So
Mhm.
we connect the topic sentence with a how and why question, answer that, and we connect it with the two quotes. There's
Mhm.
more advanced stuff that we teach in our courses, but that's generally what the basics is.
Mhm.
Okay. Then what you do is now you have a basic body advanced paragraph with a
Mhm.
topic sentence, a warrant, and two quotes.
Mhm.
Now we do the same thing for the other two reasons. Now we have
Mhm.
three advanced body paragraphs. Now, when a professor looks at that, they
Mhm.
look and said, "Oh, that student used a warrant. This must be at the college level."
Mhm.
That's it. And
That's
you
great.
practice that. Yeah. So we're not even 45 minutes in, and I
Mhm.
just taught you how to do basic sentences and more in advanced body paragraphs.
That's great. That's great. That's great. That's wonderful, and I will appreciate that. Something I remember in the past when I used to teach, there is a kind of process most of the teachers did to those students is have them participate in a competition they call spelling bee. Spelling bee help most of the kids memorize uh, like a couple of words, could be 25 words or 30 words, so that they can answer the questions when they're going to tell them a word, they can spell the words correctly. And for the time being in school, I don't think they're still using this kind of process that can help the kids to exercise their memory, as you just said, because memorization help the kids, to remember things they've been read before, as you just said about the student that with a book, it can memorize many words. It's type of strategy can keep helping some kids, some students to learn better. Spelling bee help people, especially kids, memorize words that can help them.
Well, for dyslexics, the spelling bee is the ultimate form of hell.
Okay.
Okay. In academia, again, I'm just going to, uh, let's again look at the science. The spelling
Mhm.
bee is all about this. We
Okay.
got nothing going on back here. Now, I've
Okay.
had students with the approach that I gave you who tried to do it that way,
Hmm.
but the time it would take to get the number of words you need to do well, there's just no way.
Okay.
All right. And I actually had one girl who was freaking brilliant.
Hmm.
I'm talking 20 IQ points past Mensa.
Wow.
All right, which is in the top 2%. And she said, "Will I ever be any good?" So
Hmm.
what I told the parents, and she was in fifth grade, and I said, "Okay, we are dealing with an emergency here." I told the school we're dealing with an emergency. They went and had her evaluated by a child
Hmm.
psychologist, and
Hmm.
she said this is an emergency. I said,
Hmm.
"What we're going to do is we're going to have her take a semester off.
Hmm.
We're going to enroll her at the local university,
Hmm.
and we're going to have her take an advanced history class, a very specific one. And her mom had to be with her every time, every second she was on campus, like literally sitting next to her the entire time.
Okay.
All right. What happened is we took her a junior class in college
Hmm.
at a big state university that they live by, and she ended up scoring an A.
Hmm.
And then I
Wow.
asked,
Wonderful.
"You're 10. You just got an A at a junior level class in college." I said, "Yes, you will eventually be very good, but you got to wait until you get here. You just shown that you can do it." Well, what happened to her is she tried school again. It didn't work. She basically just dropped out, and she went to a community college with her mom there every time,
Hmm.
and she started taking 3 credits a semester, then 6 credits, and then 9 credits. So by the time her friends were graduating from high school,
Hmm.
she was already a junior in college, almost a senior.
Wonderful. That's amazing. You did amazing job. And I believe that many people that watching this show tonight, if you're a parent, and then they can learn from that. And I have a last question for you, Professor Wassel.
Hmm.
For parent watching their dyslexic child shut down and dread reading, what's one step they can take right now to rekindle the child's interest and confidence in learning?
Just what we did with Reed. Okay. You need to, the parents need to do this. The schools will. I've tried. They just won't.
Hmm.
All right. So you have to find out what the kid's speciality is
Hmm.
and then work with the kid to go through that process that I showed you
Okay.
in their area of extreme interest and ability. All right. That's what you need to do. If you want to know more, we have some courses on a learning platform called
Hmm.
school.com. Just type in dyslexia classes and you'll find us. All right. We literally have a course that teaches parents how to do this.
Hmm.
Angela's our instructor. Angela is a certified elementary school teacher in the state of Texas with a 2 year degree and 11 years of experience. And now she's a homeschooling mom, and she taught her son August to go through all this.
And
Okay.
then thank you so much, Dr. Wassel. What I really learned from you as I practice it myself, I always love to read louder, and I believe there is a secret that connected with your brain in the book
Hmm.
when you read louder. That's why I did that to my children every night before I go to
Hmm.
bed. I tell them with the Bible and also with a book that I wrote, last year. This book, and I published in two languages. I say my kids. I have a kid. He is 11 years old, and he read English, Spanish, and I tell her read every one page every day before going to bed. And when
Hmm.
I do that, I didn't know what you said, what you are saying now, that reading is very important. As I
Oh,
practice it
incredibly important.
myself, as I practice it myself every day, and I say, let me introduce my kid to do the same, to read books every day, even if one page a day, and it works. And I realize that my kid start reading well. And I believe what you just said is true because I would experience it myself. And even if before I preach, as I'm a pastor, I always review my message and read them louder. Sometimes I speak in front of a mirror to see myself. And
Hmm.
then anything before doing it in public, I do it in private by myself. And I believe in the power of reading louder. And reading books, listening is very important, and I really appreciate your your input and your intervention about how the kids can know how to read better. I believe that because wherever you are in the level you academic level you have, if you don't know how to read well, that can affect your academic reward, because most of the people, they judge you by the way you speak. I remember Les Brown is one of the um, motivational speaker. And his time he said, when you open your mouth, you let the world know who you are. That's why the way you speak has a lot of to do the way you read. If you can read well, you speak well, because most of the word you say come from books, right? And then the
Oh,
way people
exactly.
people can
Uh,
read, that's when yeah, it just says something. Go ahead.
yeah, no, I'll just give you an example. I have of a student who I'm working with. His name is
Hmm.
Grayson. He's 10. He's not dyslexic in the least. He's just the 99th percentile in math and science. We're helping him learn how to do a peer-reviewed publication.
Hmm.
He wants to get his PhD, work for NASA to terraform Mars.
Hmm.
So he asked me about he's interested in World War II. I said,
Hmm.
okay. Are you interested in Europe or are you interested in the Asia with Japan? He said the Pacific with Japan. I said, you want the American perspective or the Japanese perspective? He said, the
Mm-hmm.
Japanese. I said, okay, the best book on that came out in the 1960s. Here's what it is.
Mm-hmm.
I'm creating custom lessons plans for him until we go through that. Then I'm going to send him the book. And
Mm-hmm.
then I just started answering his questions,
Mm-hmm.
and he started really hitting me with hard ones. And he
Mm-hmm.
said, how much did you prepare for this? I said, I just know this.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. Because there are so many things that the kids ask over and over again.
Mm-hmm.
One of the most popular one is surprisingly George Washington.
Mm-hmm.
So one of my kids was really into George Washington, and I was in the area anyway. I said, "Oh, this is too good to pass up." I actually
Mm-hmm.
went to Mount Vernon, his home,
Mm-hmm.
and then I called her and I said, "Get your mom because I want a video chat."
Mm-hmm.
And her mom came over. I said, "Yeah, I'm on George's porch," and then
Mm-hmm.
I showed her,
Mm-hmm.
and she freaked out. She says, "Mom, Dad, you have to take me to Mount Vernon's," and so she could understand why he wanted to leave the presidency to come back. The thing is, I have over 600 books that are over 20 hours long, and I've listened to most of them multiple times.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. And I'm constantly listening to new audiobooks on things that are of interest to the day.
That's good.
So when people are asking about it, I sound intelligent and I know what's going on.
Mm-hmm.
And my kids ask, where do you get all the time? I said, because I'm not on freaking social media. They're like, oh, you're posting, you got all this other stuff. I said, yes, that's called employees.
And then
Okay.
I want to say something about that. Let me do that. Social media is good, but you don't film is a market. When you go to a market, there's a lot of things to buy. There is things for for chores. There's things for furnitures. Like there's a lot of part of the store, but you so intelligent, you go directly to buy what you need because there's a lot of junk food there also in the
Oh, there
supermarket.
is
That
the
exactly,
the issue is as a grown man,
yeah,
you
exactly,
know when you can turn it off. But the
exactly.
problem with
That,
these
that's
kids is they're cyborgs. They're so attached to their phone that if you take it away, they
that's
don't
the
know
issue.
what to do. So they
Exactly.
will ask me, they're like, well, if I took, they looked at my screen time. They're like, you're on this all the time. I said, yeah, for work. And when I'm stuck, let's say I'm in the airport and I got it, like when you're backed up now for like three
Hmm.
hours, they're like, what are you doing? I said, well, I'm listening to an audiobook. All right. And then they're asking me like, well, what are you currently listening to an audiobook now? And I said, well, what I'm listening to an audiobook now is about China and their potential of invading Taiwan. Because if that happens, we're going to be in something twice as bad as the Great Recession. And I'm listening to an audiobook on that.
Hmm.
Then my next one is going back and going through Vicksburg and the Civil War because it's been a while
Hmm.
since I listened to that. And I have to explain that to, when I describe the American Civil War, just so people know how being well read means, I said, well, we had Robert E. Lee bouncing back and forth between Richmond and Pennsylvania for a year with much to
Hmm.
do about nothing, while in the West, they're getting crushed.
Exactly.
That Lee walking up and down, it was much to do about nothing. We
Eh,
were beating the North beat the South in the West, taking over the Mississippi River. And they looked at that and they're like, oh, or when I say about the American Revolutionary War, I said it was a battle of attrition. And that's just what it was. And explaining how that worked and the key points of American history. And they're like, oh, that actually makes sense. How come my teacher doesn't explain it this way? And I tell them because
mhm,
they don't read as well. One thing that just to leave you with this,
mhm,
sometimes I'd have teachers that would call my kids retarded or
mhm,
stupid.
mhm,
So then I had one kid coming up and they were going to go over World War II.
mhm,
And he says, I want to know about World War II. I want to know more than my teacher. I said, okay. Atkinson just came out with a trilogy.
mhm,
So we can go over that. And then we can go over some biographies, like 30-hour biographies of the main people. So he did that. And when the teacher started explaining World War II, he's explaining this really complicated stuff in a very shortened time frame.
mhm,
So they're making mistakes. And the kid kept pointing out, that's wrong, this is what
mhm,
happened. And he embarrassed his teacher
mhm,
publicly while they were discussing it.
mhm,
And I I got called into a meeting with the principal's office. I said, "Yeah,
Mm-hmm.
you call a dyslexic stupid to
Mm-hmm.
their face. This is what happens." They had to swap out teachers, and the kid was very polite to the new one, who
Okay.
never. He said, I would never dream of calling a kid stupid.
Mm-hmm.
All right,
So that one's not.
and I
And
have to tell my dyslexic kids when they get to know their speciality really good, don't make other people feel stupid.
mhm,
You can now. Don't do it. It's
mhm,
rude.
exactly. Thank you so much. I have another question.
Sure.
On my own experience, understanding for the time being is a little bit difficult to let kids away from social media. On the other hand, we can teach them how to use social media because, as I said, an example before, as a supermarket, there's a lot of things you can buy. For example, when I go to supermarket myself, there are a lot of things I say I don't need this, and I know what I need, and I go directly to the shelf and choose what I like, and then I believe for my gut is good for my health. In the same way, when you go social media, as you said, you're very intelligent. You go to listen to books on social media, on YouTube
No, I
channel or
just avoid
no, no,
yeah,
no.
this is where
Let me finish up.
yeah,
For
go.
example, it's for example what you did because everything you do, whether you go to Amazon to buy a book, different. Then for me, I have kids. When I try to do my kids, I just said, you say good points. I say,
Hmm.
kids, I know you. Yeah, I know you love social media. You love games, but what I can tell you, choose time for everything. And then the basic thing you have to do is go to learn something useful, go to study something useful that can help you. And basically, when my kids listened to me, they did. And I reward them. I say, what did you learn so far to
Hmm.
listen to that book, audiobook, or to that video? I learned this. They're very happy. I guided because when I try to put out the phone from their hands without guiding them, I make for them, I don't love them. I say, what can I do? I say, let them understand how to use it. For example, like knife, people needs knife, but the thing is how to use it. You know what I'm saying? So media now, as you say, professor, I mean, thing books very important. I love books. I'm author. I'm an author myself. But now there's many books. What do you call that? What do you call that? Ebooks, right? Ebooks. You can
Hmm.
go to Amazon and choose ebook like digital books, and then social media, as you just said, people should know how to use it, not to be slave of it. You know what I'm saying? Because everything we do now is Facebook, social media. We use Instagram. You know what I'm saying? You live TikTok, Instagram. So every kind of platforms, they can get a lot of knowledge. But in the same way, too, there are a lot of people that put garbages. What I'm saying, as you just said, you
Yeah,
know,
the main thing is
and we have to make sure
Amazon,
we don't take the bad garbages. We take the good stuff from them.
right? But Amazon and books. That's
Mm-hmm.
not what your Facebook, your TikTok, Instagram. What I can tell you is the science on this is brutal.
Mm-hmm.
These are kids, they're not adults. Even when you're 18,
Mm-hmm.
think about it. When you're 18, are you a real adult?
Of
Most
course
of
not.
us, when I'm dealing with the light switch doesn't turn on, like for example, I'm 52. Okay.
How
I
old are
don't
you?
see my kid. I'm 52. I don't
Okay,
see
you're
my
young.
kids unless if they're under 18, unless a parent's there, I'm not on video chat. I'm not on anything.
Mm-hmm.
When they're 18 through college age, I will talk to them on video chat.
Mm-hmm.
I don't meet them in person until they're in grad school.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. To me, that's an adult.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. A college kid is not an adult. I'm just
Mm-hmm.
doing that for basic self protection in this age. All right. But what I can tell you is when it comes to this TikTok, so these companies are like cigarette companies. They're trying to
Mm-hmm.
get your kids addicted, and they are brilliant at it. All I can
Mm-hmm.
say is the best thing is get them off the darn thing until they're 18, at least 16.
Okay.
Let their brains develop. Let
Mm-hmm.
them. I'll give you a real world example.
Mm-hmm.
This was a couple of years ago. There was a kid. not dyslexic, a friend of one of my past clients. He
Mm-hmm.
got a job at a mega consulting company.
Mm-hmm.
Goes in for his first assignment. They said on Monday, we're going to deal with this. So what did he do over the weekend? He reads. His parents forced him to go to the local
Mm-hmm.
library and just read books.
That's good.
That's what he did since he was like six. All right.
Oh.
So he went, he looked up everything about that company, about their problems, and he just read over the weekend. He goes into the meeting with the client as the
Mm-hmm.
junior man on the totem pole. He says, they started asking anybody else has any ideas. He said, "Yeah, what about this? I see you're trying to connect this. How about this for a solution? Maybe we could go this way." He's just talking, and they are just astonished. They're
Mm-hmm.
like, "Yeah, that sounds good, but why is it coming from the junior guy?" And he said he just read it over the weekend because that's what he did.
Mm-hmm.
The other kids who were on, they were even on their iPhone in that meeting, which means that they were instantly fired.
You something you say very interesting, Dr. Wassel, to finish up with that. And about some parents who have babies,
Mhm.
5 years, 7 years. There's babies for me. And then they could be in a place, public place, sometimes at church.
Mhm.
When the baby start crying or doing something, they give him the phone. And the baby still 5 years old.
Yeah, it's crack. It's literally like brain crack.
And then those kids, those babies, start watching something. Some parents put them some cartoons to distract the kids so that they can let them silent at church. Sometimes it could be in a public place. I don't know,
Mhm.
but what the advice you can give to those parents?
Okay, here's
Because
what I would give
that
to them.
happened to many people. It's normal for the time being to give
I would
the kid iPhone, whatever they have, tablets, to just to calm down the kids. Say something
for
about
the
that.
for the parents that want to do that. First of all, you need to understand if kids like something, they'll watch it a million times. Okay,
Hmm.
this is going to sound completely counterintuitive,
Hmm.
as most dyslexic solutions are. I
Hmm.
would get a subscription to Disney Plus, not for anything that's been made in the past 30 or 40 years. I would look at things that were created when Walt Disney ran the company. He
Hmm.
died in the mid 60s. All right.
Hmm.
And then any of those cartoons, all right, anything that Walton put in production when he was alive, the kids will be laughing like crazy.
Hmm.
He made the best animation quality ever. And it's always about somebody getting their comeuppance. And it's funny as all heck. All right. The kids can watch that for hours and hours and hours, and it's not going to rot their brain. I,
Our question. I remember when I loved in the past. You too. Tom and Jerry. Remember that?
Tom and Jerry also
I
works.
loved that when I was a little
Okay.
boy. I still love
Okay.
it sometimes.
Right. And like the stuff back then just worked. I'm just mentioning like Disney because he would have he would put more effort in making those shorts than
Hmm.
anything than people put in current animation.
Hmm.
All right. And I would have kids who would watch that on my advice when they
Hmm.
were starting like five. And then I
Yeah, they
started
do.
working when they were 10. And we would go back and we would literally dissect things.
Hmm.
And then they would say, "Oh, I want to know how this was made." And I
Hmm.
give them this really big
That's
book.
nice.
And then they go through this big book and they're
Oh,
finished by
Disney.
11.
That's nice.
And now they're so far ahead of everybody else.
That's great. That's great. Professor Wassel, I thank you so much for being part of DB podcast tonight. I learned a
Mhm.
lot from you. This is the reason I like to have guests for my podcast to learn from them. And then thank you so much. And I believe all the listeners that have been listening or watching you, they can learn also how they can help the kids. The tip for me is let your kids read. So remember,
Yes.
the kids read, and I do it. I'm going to keep on doing it for myself. I'm going to encourage my kids to keep reading. Before I go to bed now, I'm going to let them read one page of a book.
And then move it to two,
Two,
then
wait
keep
to
moving it up.
get out.
I'll leave you with this.
Mm-hmm.
There was a famous doctor. This was decades ago.
Mm-hmm.
His mother went and was housekeeping.
Hmm.
She's an African American woman raising her two African American sons with no dad, very little money. She's cleaning for a housekeeper. I mean, she's the housekeeper for a professor. And she said, "Look at all those books." She's like, "I read every one of them." So then she
Wow,
told her sons, "You're going to go and read and write a report." She took away the TV, the radio, and that's what
that's
happened.
nice. That's nice.
The
I'm
older
really,
brother became a
really
highly
impressed.
successful engineer. The younger
Wow.
brother went to Yale, said, "I can't learn in lectures." So he just read and took the tests. He went on to become a neurosurgeon,
Wow.
one
Wonderful.
of the best in the world, because his mom gave him a library card and forced him to use it.
Thank you so much, Mr. Walsh. Everybody, listen to this. The secret of your success, first of all, is in your faith in God.
Mhm.
Secondly, by reading books. Go with books. This is all about knowledge and, first of all, faith in God, confidence in yourself. Thank you so much, Professor Wassel. How people can be connected to you, because social media is one of the one of the most popular.
And I'm not
You
going
know?
to tell you about social media. And just so people know what social media I'm on, mainly it's LinkedIn,
No,
but that's for
website
professionals.
or your website,
Yeah, the
basically.
best thing to do is to go to dyslexiaclasses.com. That's with an S,
Okay.
dyslexiaclasses.com. There's a button there that says download free guide, answer 3 questions, fill out a form to speak with me. And we can set up a time. It's a half an hour, doesn't cost anything. And I can walk your kids through all this.
Thank you so much, Dr. Professor Wassel, for joining us to the podcast. We appreciate your time, and I believe we can have another interview one more time to keep talking about how we can make people come from 0 to 10 by adding values and knowledge to the brain, especially kids. Thank you so much. And for everybody listeners, thank you for being part of the big podcast tonight. Hope you can see another Thursday. Every Thursday, you're going to discuss some great topics with many brilliant guests. Thank you so much, Dr. Russell. And if you the one word to say to end up the show tonight.
I would say just find your kid's speciality and work with them on that to solve their concerns.
Wow. Thank you so much. May you have a wonderful night, every listeners. Keep the good work. Keep applying what you know, specifically what Dr. Russell said. Let your kids read, and verify the gift and talent, the specific, the specialty. You will get what they need from them. Thank you, everybody. Thank you, Dr. Russell. Have a wonderful night. Bye bye, everybody.